Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Manga Extravaganza. Once again, I have lost my place in going through the list, and it reshuffled a lot of the titles. I'm not really sure why that's happening. It looks again like they're mostly in the same order, but not really. I don't know. It's whatever. It kind of adds to the excitement. So I'm just gonna go through again, make sure there's none that we haven't talked about that got shuffled into the first. How many pages did we do? 3, 4, 4, 3, 3. We finished page 3. So hopefully we can start around page 4 and plunge onward. Yeah, these are all ones we've talked about. So far, so good. Okay. Same order, maybe. Maybe same order this time as last time. Very confusing. Oh well, okay. Yeah, we talked about these two. Did we do page 4? Maybe we did page 4. Yeah, I think we did do page 4. Yeah, because we talked about all of these. All of these. No, we didn't talk about this. Which... Now I'm paranoid. Did I start... Yeah, we didn't talk about this either. Oh, I almost got tricked. Okay, well this I actually should be putting in plan to read because I haven't read it yet. But I am very excited to read this. The scanlation... Oh gosh, okay, I see what's happening. I was about to be yeah, the scanlation's gone crazy since the last time I looked at this. They're all the way up to volume 9. Just kidding, for some reason they just started again at volume 9 after finishing at volume 10. But this is about manga production in the 80s. It features Hideki Anno, the creator of Evangelion, one of the most fascinating people in manga, as a character in this guy's story. Lots of things I'm interested about, but I haven't actually read it yet. This has not... Oh, it actually got some scanlation recently. Okay, maybe we'll get to read more about this. This is just another Pokemon doujinshi that kind of situates itself more as game-like. The gimmick is that all sorts of trainers, famous trainers from across RBY, gym leaders and the Elite Four, all trainers of all classifications are participating in a huge tournament. I don't know, it just, again, kind of focuses more on, kind of the strategic aspects of Pokemon, I guess. It's pretty neat. I hope we get to read more of it. Mahojin Guru. I was caught up with this. I also watched the whole anime. The anime, I think, covered the entire series, but I also want to read it. I really enjoy this series. It's kind of just a Dragon Quest parody, but it's done in a very, I don't know, still a bit heartwarming. It's still with very endearing characters, still with some interesting lore. It's not a parody that is satisfied just phoning it in and kind of beat by beat parodying different Dragon Quest tropes, but instead is just sort of a comedic Dragon Quest world that kind of enjoys all the same things that you would enjoy about Dragon Quest. So yeah, I don't know, I think it's quite nice. The art style is super classic. I think it's really cool that they adapted the series into an anime so long after it was running. Even though, the kind of cultural movement that it was a parody of has sort of passed. But they still retained all the charming art style and the goofy comedy, and it was good. It was kind of a timeless thing. We talked about these. Yeah, we talked about all of these. Okay, so it's the ordering is mostly the same, but then some titles get shuffled around. It's very strange. Okay, let's plunge into page 5. This should be, pretty much all new. This one is pretty self-explanatory. It's about a college girl who gets picked up at a mixer by an older girl. This is getting active scanlation again. I kind of have to reread it because I don't really remember what was happening when I stopped reading it. But it was nice. It was, again, situating it with kind of an older cast of characters and subject matter is like a nice change of pace for Yuri. I remember the older girl being like just really smooth and charming and exciting. So yeah, I don't know. I remember this one being good. Blue Lock. This is a series that's been getting a ton of attention lately. Probably the most fortuitous coincidences in anime history, okay? So the manga's been running for, a few years now. It's got its loyal fan base. It's got a cult of followers that think, yeah, this is like one of the best sports series of all time. There's just this kind of building wave of hype. A lot of other mangaka were starting to promote it. It was getting more and more popular. They announced an anime, that's kind of what happens at about this point in a manga's life cycle if it's getting this sort of buzz. The anime starts this season. People seem to like it. It seems like a good adaptation. I watched one episode and I'm like, this is pretty sweet, but the pacing is a little slow, so I'm just going to read the manga. And then I got super addicted to it, and I read the entire manga up until this point over the span of like 3 days. So that's what I was saying, man. Manga can get addictive. How much work do you think I got done those 3 days? It wasn't much. Okay, so all of this is happening. Just buzz generated from all forces, all sides. And then, completely unrelated, at the same time, it happens to be the World Cup. And Japan, and this series, by the way, is about soccer. It's about a controversial training program that seeks to make players strong enough of leading Japan to its first ever World Cup victory. Okay? And then, in the actual World Cup, which just happens to be going on right now, Japan is crushing it. Japan is actually doing, I think, better than they ever have before, or at least as good as they've ever done so far. Let's check it out. So, before they've made the round of 16 a few times, but I think always in the group stage, they make it out, like the top two make it out, and I think they've only ever made it out in the second position from the group stage to the round of 16. Here, they made it out in the first position, beating everyone else in their group, including Spain and Germany, who are, historically extremely strong European countries. Looks like there's some controversy with the last goal, but it's not like they're going to change the results now. And even if they did, they would still have made it into the round of 16. So Japan is on, like, perhaps the best heater in Japanese soccer history at the same time as this manga that's all about Japanese players evolving themselves and making it to the World Cup. If you go on Twitter and search for Blue Lock, I'm not the first person to comment on this. In fact, it's really driving a lot of the success of Blue Lock. People shouting Blue Lock is real, which is kind of an interesting upgrade to the One Piece is real meme. Okay, that's funny. Japan versus Spain goals are nearly identical. Blue Lock is real. So I don't know, the anime looks good, like the production and stuff is good, but it's just, I don't know, like sports series have to be something really special for me to want to watch them instead of just reading the manga. And stuff just like these slow shots. In the manga it's fine because that's just like one panel of the block, one panel of his reaction. Crap. One panel is like this, one panel of the ball falling. That's fine, but that's like one page, right? Okay, okay, this shot's actually really cool. But like, wow. Man, I'm starting to feel like I should be watching real football. It's pretty exciting. I don't know, like it's okay. It's just, I would rather just read this. Like, I mean, this shot is actually pretty friggin' sweet though. I don't know. Maybe I should give it more of a chance, the anime. I've loved the manga so much that it does make me want to go back and give the anime more of a chance. Now I said, yeah, I got really addicted to this. I'm getting even more hyped up about it because of Japan's legendary run. I wonder, how are they going to acknowledge this in the manga if it happens? I suppose the manga is taking place before, the manga is taking place in like 2017 or something, so it wouldn't make any sense for them to be watching the 2022 World Cup, but I don't know. It feels like they got to take advantage of it somehow. So yeah, I've been really into this. This is like the latest series that I've like binge read and really enjoyed. But is it any good? It is, but it's not as good as I initially hoped it would be, and it's not good in the ways that I initially hoped it would be. The thing that got me into this is because of a person I follow on Twitter that's really into Fukumoto, and generally just has very good taste. They're also into like Disco Elysium and stuff, and they said Blue Lock is just Fukumoto soccer, and I was like, all right, sold. This person really knows what they're talking about when they say that. And I think at the start, it kind of seemed like it would be more like that, because it seemed like they weren't just going to be competing in straight up soccer games, but instead doing all sorts of weird soccer related trials. And it had more of like a individual PvP psychology thing going on, whereas it eventually just kind of became more of like a sports psychology thing. Like, they still dive into the psyche a lot more than most sports series. There's like all this big examination of like an ego and like, are you really playing with a team, or do you need to break away from the team and seize your own victory? And I don't know, all this stuff, but like more and more it started to be about soccer, the sport itself, and how the psychology applies to specific aspects of soccer, which is like okay, but it became more and more a sports anime that way, because it became more and more about, oh, I'm the one that can understand the field the best, or I'm the one that runs the fastest, I'm the one that can jump the highest. And it was still like very good on that level, but it is more of just like a basic sports series than I at first imagined. I don't know, it still has a lot of like cool Fukumoto-y stuff, like the various eliminations and challenges and stuff, but in the end it became much more standardized. Okay, we're just playing soccer against each other. What other stuff? I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it, because it's like good, but I'm still a little bit disappointed. I also think it's a little bit repetitive insofar as it's kind of like the same pattern of the MC gets out there, he has no clue what's going on, everybody seems to be like a much higher caliber than him, then he has some sort of groundbreaking insight, usually about just kind of perceiving other people's intentions better, and then it keeps building up this like puzzle in his head of what makes a good player. Then he gets all these insights, he makes a dramatic play, he solidifies himself as a star of the match. And I mean, that's fine, like, that's the typical loop of like a soccer anime, or any sort of sports series, but like, just like, the fact that they pin it as like, this is the key revelation, like he's finally figured it out, he's become enlightened. And then, 15 chapters later, it's like, no. Now it's the key revelation, like he's finally become enlightened. It just sort of starts making it like impact less and less. But I don't know, there's lots that I like about the characterization's good, the art style is fantastic, the action sequences are really, really great, the sense of movement and speed and bodies clashing is extremely well conveyed. It's not as like weird as I hoped it would be, I guess. I thought it would have more, or at least this comment had led me to believe that it would be more Fukumoto-y and really kind of like this sort of strange portrayal of psyche, whereas this is much more like a standard psychological sports series. But it's still good. I'll still give it a star, because I definitely think if you like sports series, this has to be on your radar. This has to be something you're really going to dive into. And if you like that kind of psychological series, you're not going to be like disappointed. Because I recommended it to another friend of mine that likes Fukumoto, and then we talked about it after we'd both read a bunch, and we were both like, it's good, but it's good. But it's not Fukumoto. Okay. We were almost just about to talk about Fukumoto, but first we're going to talk about something very, very near and dear to my heart, the jobless siblings. Hatarakanai Futari. Oh, I love this series so much. I don't even know where to start with it. It's been running for a long, long time with all these mostly very short chapters, but every once in a while they do like a very long, substantial chapter too. It has this very wide cast of characters that broadens further and further in a growing community that feels very, very natural, but also very fortunate and coincidental, and just that kind of light poeticness that we cherish when we see it in real life. It's hilarious. The characters are hilarious. The concept itself is hilarious. It's just these two siblings are neats, and they just bum around all day with their buds. The lessons in it are really heartwarming. Just values of community and appreciation and looking out for one another. And yet it's still underpinned by this sense of degeneracy. There's such a like elusiveness to our main character here, the neat boy. Of just kind of, what is he really doing? What is he really capable of? But you just have this feeling deep, deep in your heart that, you know, he's a good guy. It's a series that started off as kind of simple, repetitive gags of their neighbor watching them through the windows at all hours of the night, realizing that they're totally jobless neats, and being amused by all the ways they amuse themselves. But then they befriend her, and it starts talking about all of their friends, and just this growing circle of wacky characters. This one, it's great. It's so great. I don't know. It's just... I think it's really fantastic. I think the art style is really fantastic in how simple it is, how kind of light it is. It's got this excellent, like, cross-stitching. And, you know, most of them are just these one-page gags. And although there's nothing super experimental about, like, the paneling or the page format or whatever, I just think it's very impressive to have just this entirely small story contained in one page, and to really think about the overall tone of the page in doing so. It's all these little vignettes. I don't know. This one I think is 2 stars. I think it's really, really special. One of my favorite series these days. I don't know. I just really, really like it. I feel like I could easily just reread the entire series at any time and just have a nice, pleasant, peaceful, occasionally chuckling, occasionally sighing wistfully but happily. It's so good. I'm just picking chapters at random. Oh man, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's it's really good. Oh, I still have the stars up. You can't even read this. Yeah, very good. Very, very good. Okay, moving on. This is Hero, one of the sequel spin-off series from Akagi. It's been going for quite a while. They're gearing up for another gigantic Mahjong championship, like the one that takes place at the end of 10. I guess it's more a sequel to 10 than it is to Akagi. It's good. It's one of the purest Fukumoto series in terms of it just being about Mahjong action. Extremely smart players, extremely good cheaters, weird techniques, all the different ways that you can examine the game. The art style is really interesting, very like classic. The characterization is like really exaggerated and stuff, which I like. But in the end, the really compelling thing is, of course, just the Mahjong action, and nobody does it better than Fukumoto in terms of just coming up with these like extremely tension-riddled, complex scenarios in which only one character can perceive the path, as unlikely as it is. They also had like some other really good Fukumoto type stuff, various death-defying mini gambles that they had to do to even make it to the tournament. Yeah, I don't know. It's quite nice. I'm really enjoying it. I look forward to each chapter quite a lot. They've been really good with the scanlation of it. Although this isn't on my highest priority list of untranslated Fukumoto projects, I'm really glad that we're getting it at least, and it looks like it'll continue for quite a long time. This is volume 18, so they got their work cut out for them. Yeah, it's good. Adversarial mahjong. Huh? Okay. Anyways, it's good. Hoseki no Kuni. This is one of the weirdest series you'll ever read, and it just gets weirder and weirder. And yet, despite the fact that the premise is extremely surreal, high-concept sci-fi that pushes the boundaries of your imagination, the actual appeal of the series, I think, is extremely approachable and extremely fun. It just has all of these really quirky, charming characters, great action sequences, really cool character designs, really cool setting designs and archaeology and stuff, just a great sense of mystery and intrigue. And even though, all of those mysteries are answered in the weirdest possible way, you never kind of lose the feeling of significance and the feeling of tension and stuff. I think it's going to end soon, despite this chapter being called The Beginning. So hop on now if you want to check this one out. The anime got a little cult following when it came out. It was very well done. One of the best CG action anime I've ever seen, done by Studio Orange, that then got even more popular for Beastars. But I think people that like the anime owe it to themselves to check out the manga and see all of the crazy stuff that's been happening since then. I don't know, it really conveys a great sense of both alienness and like deep humanity in a way that very few series do. I'm gonna give this one a star as well. We're going through some bangers here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's like flawless. I think they definitely go in some directions that, although it's like you're never like lost on the significance of them, you certainly may not find them all that compelling because maybe those are characters you're not like super attached to or whatever, or haven't been totally developed. But even in this, the parts of the story where you're just kind of like, well, I don't really understand why we're focusing on this, that only adds to this kind of like alien feeling, which I think is so key to why this series is so special. So yeah, check it out. Check it out soon before it ends. We can read the ending together. I would love to make videos on this. The art style, if I didn't mention, is like so unique and so fantastic. And I think there's so much to say just about like paneling choices, presentation choices, especially in these latest chapters that have been so experimental. Yeah, it's fantastic. Oh boy, this is another one that I think could receive a lot of attention if the proper audience found it. It's about this ethics teacher who gets involved in the lives of his students. The lives of his students are pretty terrible, and usually he's kind of at a loss for what he can actionably do, but at the very least he can kind of teach them some sort of ethical lesson behind the suffering that's happening. It's a very passionate series. You can tell the author really cares about these topics and really cares about his characters, and does his best to portray the teacher as someone caring, someone supportive, someone intelligent. It's like tough for me because I'm gonna be like hypercritical of stuff like this as someone who fancies themselves a bit of a philosopher. Ew, what a thing to say. Ew. All I mean is that I've taken some philosophy courses and I've read a bunch of books and stuff, and so I have a sense of like what all these are conceptually before they're treated as subjects in the comic, and I have my own kind of biased understanding of it and what I think is important and what I think the messaging is going in, and sometimes that always doesn't always line up, but I always appreciate the perspective put out by this series. I don't know, it's sometimes I feel like it's a little shallow, I guess, in that It kind of aims for like maybe the simplest alignment of both a simplified issue that the student is facing and then a simplified reading of philosophy that addresses it. But I mean, what can I expect? This isn't like a 500-page textbook. I don't know. It's quite interesting. I think if you want to get up to speed on a lot of big topics in ethics, this is a really exciting and compelling way to do it. Some of the chapters will be quite upsetting and quite haunting, I think, for most people. But yeah, it's pretty cool. The art style is really unique too. The characters have a lot of character to them, very expressive, not like idealized or stylized, but just human beings. Yeah, it's quite good. I think this is over. I think I've read it all. Oh, it hasn't finished scanlating yet. Okay. Why did I think I read the ending of this? Anyways, this is another very dumb, ecchi series. I don't know. Like, I've been, this whole time, kind of very dismissive of the series that are fan service driven or have a lot of fan service for whatever reason. Lewd stuff. And the main reason that I've been kind of skittish and not really talking about it is because it's embarrassing, obviously. And because through transitioning and taking hormones and stuff, and getting into a relationship and a million other things, my tastes around lewd manga have like changed quite a lot. And now the appeal is much more abstract, I guess. It's more just kind of like a distanced appreciation of like, well, they're doing a good job with this, I guess. and not so much like a direct one-to-one, this is like appealing to me as much anymore. So it almost feels like disingenuous to talk about them. But I will at least try to give more of that like distanced appreciation, I guess, because it's not right to just kind of dismiss this entire genre because I'm embarrassed. Come on, if you're already 4 parts deep into this Manga Extravaganza, you're subscribed to the Keats the YouTube channel, and if you're not, hit that subscribe button. You're gonna be pretty sympathetic to me. Nobody's gonna like call me out and call me gross or a pervert or whatever at this point, I don't think. So this series, I think, is very impressive on the fan service dimension. I'll admit that. They have a pretty wide cast of characters. They cover all sorts of different like body types, personality types, and fetishes. The premise where the main character is a manga artist. He writes like a lewd rom-com, much like the one he stars in. He's always kind of needing to understand reference material. This leads to all sorts of ero, wacky mishaps and stuff that can represent a whole lot of fetishes without it feeling super unnatural. It's very like self-aware, self-parodious, very funny in that regard. The art style is really impressive. They can really convey the sensoriness of these ero experiences. I don't know. I think as far as these lewd rom-coms go, this sits near the top of the pack for me. I don't think I'm going to give it like a star or anything because in the end, it's like these series, they're aiming for one sort of response, and it's like not as, I suppose, nuanced or interesting or compelling as other emotional responses a story could go for, or other kind of intellectual ways a story could be engaging. So it's not like I can praise it too much, but if you want to read a lewd rom-com, this is a good one. That's what I'll say. Vampires. This is a very interesting series. I have to get caught up on it. This artist, Higashiyama Sho, has done a wide range of stuff, but has become most famous for their Yuri series. Prism, which I quite like, but it got, unfortunately, canceled because of a tracing scandal. Stretch, which felt like a weird revenge series in that it had like many volumes of Yuri flirting and intense friendship and all sorts of innuendos that their relationship was going to grow to something more than friendship, and then ends very abruptly with one of the characters moving out and them just saying goodbye forever. which to me shows revenge for Prism getting canceled by giving a big middle finger to Yuri fans. Of course, I can't confirm that. Who knows why artists make the choices they do, but I don't know. Vampires is their latest series. It's Vampire Yuri. This girl is a vampire and meets this girl, and they start to catch feelings for each other. And what I really appreciate about Show's series is it always kind of has this implied dissatisfaction with normal life up until that point, where one of the girls, or sometimes both of the girls, going into the Yuri relationship kind of see it as, yes, this is like taking a plunge from my current life into some other lifestyle, and I can't go back, but without even explicitly saying I wasn't happy to begin with, there's just this kind of like free, careless eagerness to throw everything before away and to take the plunge into the new. And I think by, not fully articulating the dissatisfaction first, it makes it all the more powerful. Just this kind of, I don't know, it's really, really hard to describe exactly what kind of feeling this leaves you with, but it's kind of like implying that maybe their life wasn't really abnormally bad or anything. It was just a normal life. But that isn't normal life really so dissatisfying compared to this sort of romance of which you haven't encountered yet? It gives everything this very, like, wistful, dreaming feeling that finally something that had eluded you your entire life, even if you didn't know you were missing it, is within your grasp. I think Show's series capture that moment very, very well, and that makes them super compelling. Their art style is pretty neat too. The characters are very expressive without being too cartoony. It's good. This one has quite a lot of like lore and stuff going on too, with vampire hunters and vampire clans and all the politics of that. Usually it's kind of like a build-up and then a humorous anticlimax where it turns out not to have mattered or was based on a misunderstanding or whatever. But it's a good way to kind of introduce some tension in the relationship and have kind of like a roller coaster in the relationship where they feel relief and catharsis and closeness without it being kind of more contrived, misunderstanding each other, getting into a fight, whatever. Anyways, it's quite good. Check it out. I don't want to give it like a star or anything. It's not for everyone. It's not for anyone. It's not for everyone. I think it really hinges on how compelling that specific feeling that I was talking about is. The new legend of the strongest man, Kurosawa. Kurosawa is the name that I could not remember in like part 1 of this video, and I got really sad. So this is the sequel to one of the most legendary, one of the best regarded Fukumoto series, Legend of the Strongest Man Kurosawa. That ends with Kurosawa falling into a coma, and this one starts with him waking up through a series of really unfortunate misunderstandings. He becomes homeless and destitute and lives with a group of other homeless people down by the river, from which they have all sorts of adventures, at first kind of dealing with other homeless populations and trying to build kind of a community and mutual support, to more externally motivated things, bizarre opportunities that fall into their lap and how they deal with them. I really, really like this series. I like it, I don't know, almost as much as the original Kurosawa. The original Kurosawa is like very, very powerful from like an inspirational humanist message. Like it speaks mostly to ambition and capability, whereas here, this is more about like the forces of fate are mostly out of your control, that like things happen to them by happenstance, but then just as likely through happenstance they fall out of their fingers, despite their best efforts, despite banding together, despite being good people, they can't really get that far. It's almost like the anti-message of original Kurosawa, where in that one Kurosawa shapes his own destiny time and time again and overcomes all sorts of crazy odds. But I still really, really enjoy it because I think the messages that emerge are still very grounded and touching and really speaking to the human condition just as much as original Kurosawa. It's also very funny. Lots of really comedic events happen. I think this is Fukumoto's like funniest series. All the characters are great. All of his homeless buddies are really endearing and really fascinating and quirky in their own ways. And I think it's kind of cozy too. And this may be really offensive to say a series about homelessness is cozy, but there's so many like very slice of life chapters of them just existing down by the riverbank and showing what they do to occupy their time and what their friendships are like and stuff. And it has like that really kind of slice of life coziness where you just kind of relax alongside them. I don't know, like maybe you could argue from a moral perspective the series is dehumanizing because it portrays homelessness as not as terrible and painful as it is in real life. But I don't know, I think it also really teaches you compassion for the homeless, because it shows time and time again how hard it is for them to improve their condition, and you learn the backstories of everyone who got there and how a lot of times it really wasn't their fault and they just fell on hard times. So I think overall it's definitely a message of solidarity with homelessness, even if maybe it seems like it's trivializing it. I really like this one. This one gets a star. We'll rate this and the prequel series differently because, you know, they're very different in tone and subject matter and everything, covering two completely different eras of Kurosawa's life. But yeah, it's really fun. Scanlations are starting up again semi-frequently. Hopefully we'll get caught up. I'm not sure how long it ran in Japan. Oh, a long time. A long time. We're only here. Ooh, and this arc is going to continue for a while, it looks like. Oh, man, yeah. So many wacky things happened in this one. Just looking at these volume covers, I remember. But I don't want to look too far ahead. All right, cool. Yeah, I like it. This is a eating series. So I think I read all of this up until here. I haven't read this one yet. I don't know. I don't remember this one too well. I'm assuming it's just they go out and have dates and eat. Oh yeah, okay, I remember this now. Yeah. She's like a fwa Instagram girl that's always going to cafes and posting macarons and what have you. But what she really wants to do is eat super garlicky, super oily, big chunks of pork ramen and other such dishes. And it's all about her kind of emerging into that lifestyle and finding comrades and chowing down on delicious meat. Really good. I now that I'm remembering it, I remember this being really good. And the depiction of food is just mouth-watering. For a while, I dropped a whole lot of cooking-based series because I was trying to diet. And it was too painful to see all of the delicious food in manga. This is Toki, another Saki spin-off. This one about the girl who can see the future, Toki, and her girlfriend, and all but name Ryuka, and how they form their high school team. This one is quite interesting because it deals a lot with like amateur mahjong. Like Toki has no idea how to play at the start. And they really start from quite bad and then build up a skill set and build up their cheater techniques, which of course is essential to Saki. They run into all the other characters from mainline Saki that will eventually become their teammates, usually first encountering them as enemies, which is really hype, and seeing how they overcome each other and come to respect each other and work together. The art style is very cute. This Meki person also does the cooking spin-off of Saki, which I really enjoy. Just kidding, no they don't. Really? Who does that? Dude, I was like, sure. Oh, yeah. They just wrote the name differently on each one. This one's Meki no space, and this one's Meki space. Anyways, yeah, this one's quite a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to more. I'm not sure how it's going to proceed, if it'll take us all the way up to high school. But it's pretty hype. It's one thing I really like is it shows that Toki's seeing into the future powers aren't just about mahjong, that she literally just is like a psychic that can sometimes get prophecies of the future. And the way they depict that, I think, is really compelling, that she just starts having these weird waking fever dreams and it's like really cryptic, and the manga gives it this really kind of like fleeting, haunting feeling. And even though you, the reader, know exactly what's going on, because we know eventually Toki gets the power to cheat at Mahjong, it's like even more compelling because of that, because you're like hyped up, like, oh, she's doing it, she's seeing the future. But then for all the characters, of course, it's very mysterious. This is Heterogeneous Linguistics, really interesting series about a guy heading out into the world of monster people. There's werewolves and lizard people and harpies and intelligent giant squids and dragons and all of your kind of traditional fantasy tropes. But the way he engages with them is nowhere near traditional. He's a student of linguistics, and he's out there to try to learn their languages and learn their grammars and communicate with them. This is conveyed, I think, really, really well in the comic itself, where most of the dialogue of the other peoples are like censored. And then you can start, as he kind of makes insights and figures it out, they start conveying it. Like here he realizes that they use the same words but with different tonal inflections to mean stuff. It's very like realistically complex that he meets different people within the same species that have different dialects and still can't know what's going on. It's also very creative. It really makes use, I think, of just how alien other cultures can be. He encounters people that communicate through movement, that communicate through the exchange of items. And it's not limited to language either. You know, being out there, he's expected to kind of contribute to the communities he's staying in. So he kind of learns how like work is distributed and what responsibilities people have and what expectations people have of each other. It's really good. It's like a really fascinating series that doesn't over amplify any sense of like suspense or mystery or danger, but it's just kind of like at the same level of intensity and engagement that you would imagine a real student would be going out here researching. And of course this running narration, which is kind of like his research diary, just kind of grounds it in this sense of academicness. The art style is fun. Here they're trying to agree on how to build a shelter. Yeah, really, really good. Check this one out. I'm going to give this one a star. I think it's super unique in the world of manga, a subject matter not covered very often, and even though, once again, it's like a subject matter pretty dear to my heart, I have no elitism here. I have no, oh, well, I guess this is, linguistics, but I think this is a study of linguistics that any linguistics nerd could be proud of, just in terms of its creativity and thoroughness and kind of realistic difficulty. Yeah, I don't know. It's really neat. Like, as I said before, I'm not, like, super into fantasy series, especially if it kind of takes place in this sort of traditional fantasy world. But if they can switch it and the way that world is engaged with is a little bit different, like this or Dungeon Meshi, then suddenly I'm, like, super invested. Then suddenly it becomes, like, a strength. So, I don't know. It's just kind of like a quirk of my tastes, I guess. But yeah, learning the language. That's cool. This is a very silly series. She's the boss, but she's a little girl, and she's just a silly dummy that makes strange decisions, but all the rest of the employees treat her with such reverence and execute her whims as much as possible. I don't know, what can we say about it? It's very cute, very silly. The art style is funny, very gag comedy type stuff. Spraying her with a bunch of perfume, block her body odor. Yeah, it's alright. Check it out. Here's another genre that normally I very much poo-poo. Through some sort of magic, I was reincarnated, and now I live out my life with all the knowledge I had when I was an adult. Normally, these are coinciding with, like, isekai, and it's just sort of like a stupid power fantasy. Other times they do take place in the real world, but once again, it's just like a silly power fantasy where, yeah, now I'm like a total boss. I'm not going to make any of the mistakes I made last time. Just really blatant, kind of sad wish fulfillment in a lot of cases. And then there's sort of a growing genre, I think, based on, what's that series called? Erased, Boku no something, where it's like I have to go back in time to solve some crucial case, some sort of murder or whatever, where it's kind of like I have a special insight that nobody else has. So again, it's just sort of a power fantasy. So here, it's this old lady who'd lived a full and complete life, is reincarnated as a baby, and is now just living through her childhood again. But it's not really a power fantasy. Like, she has a lot of bizarre grandma wisdom. Like, she's very good at, like, cooking and identifying plants. But this comes along just as much with a lot of old lady quirks and things she's upset about, things she gets irate about. So it's very funny, very cute. There's kind of ongoing mysteries of what is the science behind this reincarnation. Why was she in particular reincarnated? What other reincarnated people are out there? She's trying to reconnect with her grandson, who now is like some kid in his early 20s, who's very confused and kind of creeped out by this little kid that seems to know everything about him. It's really, really nice, though, because putting aside kind of all of the premise type stuff, it just becomes a series about learning kind of like old ways of life, old ways of doing things, all of her kind of granny habits, situated within this cute setting of her going to preschool or hanging out with her family or, you know, just doing normal kid stuff. And then, yeah, there's like these really sentimental moments where she thinks back to her life that's, you know, now like 100 years ago, seeing her friends from her previous life as elderly people. There's like a running joke that she uses really old language for everything, which I think the scanlators do a great job at capturing. Yeah, it's really cute. It has like some of the appeal of Yotsuba, I think, in that she's just doing all this like kid stuff. And we get to kind of see the wonderment of the other actual that age kids. I'm trying to find like a more typical chapter. These ones are all pretty plotline heavy chapters. Yeah, I don't know. It's really cute. I'm a big fan. I'm trying to find. Where's the one where she's just like, here's how you prepared vegetables. Yeah, yeah. And it's nice that she's like, it's progressing forward in time. She starts elementary school and stuff. I'm really excited to see how far it goes. I think it's a lovely, lovely series. It gets a star. We're giving out stars all over the place today. I don't know, at first I was like, I gotta be like really strict. Like only like 1 in 10 series gets a star. But when I think about it, like the vast majority of series that I don't read, I wouldn't give a star to, you know? So it's, I think, given that I've already selected from like everything I've heard of down to the ones I'm actually reading, it's okay if the rate is then higher, I think. I think it's still meaningful within that context. I don't know. I was going to be like, yeah, like I'm not going to give whatever a star, but like, it's kind of rude. But I mean, some of these series look pretty rude too. Yeah, good stuff. Here's another one that's going to get a star. I was talking last time about how much I'm really liking this author. They've got a pretty wide range of genres and moods and stuff, but they're just consistently funny and charming and have really cute art. This one is my favorite for sure. It's about this girl who just kind of has like a gloomy disposition. She's not super friendly. She's pretty shy and standoffish. And so because of that, she gets bullied a lot. They call her the Grim Reaper. Nobody will play with her, which of course makes her all the more withdrawn. And then suddenly this clueless transfer student who's so absurd shows up and decides he's going to be her friend. He hears that she's called the Grim Reaper and that she'll curse you if she looks at you and all this stuff, and just thinks that's super, super cool. And at first it's just kind of like jokes about that. You know, they bully her. He misunderstands what they're trying to do. He thinks whatever they're claiming she's done is really cool. They get a bit closer together. She gets a little bit more self-assured. And then it's just been blossoming at this really nice rate of learning more about the other kids and realizing that even though they're being jerks to her, like, deep down they're not so bad. They can learn to be better. They can learn to be friends. Just like a really, really lovely, heartwarming series with like super cute art. There's been more substantial arcs lately where they're going on class trips and stuff. She's making bigger friends. People are having their own arcs. I just really like this art style. It's just like so friendly and cozy. Very good. Yeah, this also gets a star. This is my favorite series by this author so far of the stuff I've read. I'm really excited to read more of their stuff. I hope it keeps getting scanlated. Good, good. This is another Yuri series. That's very fun, very silly. Oh, this one is, yeah, this one's like totally autobiographical, which is neat. It makes it very grounded. Just kind of the small humorous anecdotes of daily life. Very nice. I don't know what more I can say about it. This, I've only read kind of the first half of it, the first set of arcs, before it transitions to focusing on kind of other characters. But this is a pretty infamous series where it's about the president of Japan, or the prime minister of Japan, playing mahjong against other world leaders in order to settle international disputes. And we've already looked at like some superpower mahjong series, but this goes well above and beyond with insane, oh, my hand is in a superposition of 3 different winning hands, so I'm going to win points for all of them. Oh, I need another blank tile, so I'm going to like supercharge, smooth off another tile to make it into a blank tile, into a white dragon. I'm just going to naturally draw a winning Yakuman hand. Here they're playing against Nazis on the moon, by the way. So just the upper limit, I think, in terms of insanity in Mahjong series. There's Asimo, who's his teammate in this arc, fighting a Nazi officer. Very good, very good. I would really highly recommend this to people who like kind of political satire. I think the depiction of all the world leaders is very funny. I also think if you're into Mahjong, this is a series you owe it to yourself to check out, to just kind of see what the limit in one direction is. And then, you know, if you decide, oh, I prefer more the Akagi direction, that's okay. Now you know. Yeah, really good. I really should read the second half of it because I'm sure it's just as crazy. I just, there was like a big scanlation gap at the time, and when it started back up, I just wasn't really in the mood. But yeah, check it out. I don't know. It's so dumb. It also has... you know what? I won't even spoil it. If I'm recommending it this much, I really do hope you read it, and then why would I spoil it? But there's a moment that's just mwah. This is a really cute one. We have your traditional Demon King setup. He wants to take over the world, but he has this young daughter who just wants to be a kind friend to everyone. It's kind of the same joke each time, where he orders his subordinates, do something to make my daughter more evil, make her understand the glory of power and conquest and blah, blah, blah. And then just, okay, I'll figure something out. They come up with some experiment, trial, setup thing for her to, I don't know, like capture someone or take over a country or whatever. She totally misunderstands what she's meant to do, ends up being very kind to the people that are supposedly her enemies. Eventually the misunderstandings are resolved, the truth is revealed that she hasn't done at all what she was supposed to. She's of course still totally innocent and thinks, yeah, I did a good job. And then the Demon King dad finds out, but instead of being angry, she's just so gosh darn cute that he can't help but praise her anyways. Pretty much that same routine playing out every chapter. Maybe it becomes more expansive and more arc-based or lore-based later. I don't know. I haven't read the latest volume, it looks like. Or, no, I've only not read these last few chapters. I don't know how long it's been running. Okay, there's like 3 volumes, so... it's like good. It's fun. The art is very cute. There's not a whole lot to complain about. This is like the advisor lady that's always trying to help her. Adorable. Yeah, it's nice. This is just a world building guidebook thing for Delicious and Dungeon Musume. Or Dungeon Meshi, I mean. I actually bought this in English. I was stretching because I knew I was about to get up and go get it. They released this in English too, and I bought it. And it's pretty sweet. Just has all the info on all the characters, all the monsters, timeline and events, and then a ton of bonus comics. Like every character gets a little bonus comic showing another slice of their life outside of the main plot. Really, really good stuff. It really shows the passion and care that the mangaka has for this series. Can't really give this a rating or whatever, but I already praised the main series to high heaven, and I think this is a really substantial addition to it that's worth reading if you like it. I wouldn't mind being loved. Oh, yeah. This one about becoming a lesbian escort. This one is pretty intense, pretty unhappy. I think it's like well observed, very compassionate to its characters. I don't know. I didn't read enough. Not much was scanlated, so I don't really know where it goes, but I hope she finds happiness. I hope she's eventually loved. I suppose it's still ongoing. I think I've read other stuff by this artist too. Oh, I've read this, yeah. And maybe that's it. Good. Okay. I'll do this one, and then I guess we'll call it quits for this episode. We're getting there. Unfortunately, this one, the scanlation isn't getting there, and I really, really wish it was. This is another cool Kyoshinsha series. As you can see, I'm a big fan of his. I read almost everything that gets scanlated about him. This one I would put at a nice 20 to 30% lewdness, explicitness, whatever. It's not really perverted. There's like a bit of fan service, but nothing too bad, just kind of booby. Again, it's just another charming slice of life romance between a couple that seems like maybe they'd be unlikely. Komari-san, who cannot decline, is a very respected, very like high achieving, everybody respects her and likes her type person, but she's actually kind of shy and awkward, and ends up kind of helping people out because she just doesn't really know how to decline. The male character is this guy who kind of like sees through it and recognizes that she just doesn't really have all that much agency and doesn't really know how to set boundaries and have healthy friendships, and feels for her and really tries to connect with her. And over the course of these 6 volumes, they've gotten closer and closer. And then when scanlation stopped, there was this thing happening at the end of every chapter where it would go like, oh, wait, maybe not this one. Just kidding. Hee-haw. T-2. They were counting down to something. Every once in a while, there would be a chapter that was counting down. Counting down to what? I thought it was probably going to be like confession and they start dating. But we didn't find out! Once again, I'm ending a video on the tragedies of being an English manga fan that only speaks and reads very remedial, childlike Japanese. Sometimes you just don't get to know what happens. Sometimes you just know that it kept going, volumes kept coming out, Japanese readers kept reading them, but you're not in that group, you don't get to know. And what do we do? How do we overcome this? Step 1. Go to learnjapanese.com. All right. And we go in. All right. Let's go. Then we get basic Japanese. And then you're like, oh, this is a lot of work. And then you go Japanese Translation Commission. And then you go, okay, how about these people? And then you go amazon.co.jp. And you go Komari-san. Oh, what? Komori-san, Child Forest. And then you add all of these to the cart. And then you go knock knock, hello, Shuba, help. Alright, that's all for now. Please look forward to even more manga. We're getting there. We're almost through page 5, and then there's just 6 and 7, and then there's all the stuff I completed already, and then all the stuff I plan to read, and then Viz, and then maybe Dynasty Scans, and then who knows what else. Okay, bye-bye.